That's all. Then the train that's all any young. Come to the Shada Kasa. Calling him this. Chicken a coach out of us. That's all. That tango any Zabig any take the model. Chang Chop the Piluja Tango, natural one of your major good. There's another name, Mary Jimbato, Jasila. Yes.
So first from the root text, verse 25. If those who aspire to enlightenment willingly give up their bodies, what need is there to mention external objects? Therefore, with no hope of reward or benefit, to give with generosity is the practice of a bodhisattva.
This one comes that ring around of Parrot Chimba and that talk. And Tango, Jimmy Parrot Chimba singing the
So this evening, we're again beginning the 6 Paramitas, the first of the 6 Paramitas, our discussion on generosity.
Da dela se dine tang aran so gidang gidang aran so jimba singing da tongwa yor tongwa bo tongwi ke norde dine tere som yor was da tongwi gicho.
Generally speaking, what we call generosity, an act of generosity, has 3 key features to it, 3 parts to it. It has the recipient of one's generosity, the wealth or the thing, the object that is being offered in generosity, and the subject, the agent that is making the offering. And based on these, we have the act of generosity.
Any Jimbalaya, Kambuya, any Tonwiki Sunday, any Maranzobia, Congress, Getchamu.
So first, for practicing generosity, what we call the training of generosity, then initially it's important for us to meditate on or cultivate the attitude of giving.
Then that Jidang that Jimbatela, so Jidang and so any Sansangi Jimba, any Manjekwa Jebji Jimba. Any time I am to huge Jimba singing, the Duke out of Jimba Tela, so the one Jena, some yours.
So usually when discussing practice of generosity, we talk about the 3 main categories of generosity. The generosity of giving material possessions, material things. The generosity of offering protection from fear. And the generosity of offering the Dharma.
So that the Tango Benata, Pin Aniang, that any so the Kohantela. Anything around so don't be same day. Togor, Benata Jimby Parade said. That Jimba singing day, any Maranga Jala, Kamjet Sama Zona, Chimatea to Yana Jinsagi or the Mitsukanga, then in Mavachana, there 2 minutes. Kanda Maranga Pedicesare, any Zimbata, Shamba Meva, Kamchi, don't send Topsuna, don't week that because part of the Chibas, Jimmy part of the Chibas singing. So what did they matter that? Don't send people, yes.
So with generosity, the first and really the paramount thing, the most important part of the practice of generosity is one's motivation, one's mindset, the intention one has. Namely, having the attitude of giving, the intent upon giving, the attitude of giving. It's really based on that that we define the transcendent generosity. So when we talk about transcendent generosity or the paramita of generosity, It's not that it's can be reached once everything you have to give has been given and you have nothing left to give. Likewise, it's not defined by there being no recipients left for one's generosity, that there's no one else left to take anything, to receive anything from you. Instead, the paramita of generosity, true transcendent generosity, is defined by the perfection of the attitude of giving. When one's attitude of giving is connected to everything, that there's no sense of clinging or attachment to anything left whatsoever. At that point, then one has truly reached what we call transcendent generosity, or the paramita of generosity. So again, it really comes down to, and a primary key feature is one's attitude, namely the attitude of giving.
Tene ta tela yang ngaram zu eni ta senga ta eni ta zimba shi war bas ta zimba ta so ta ongwa bi ji eni garda trap de so tene yang ngaram zu eni jimba ji par tang che yang 되게 지에서 아까 그때 마당나 yang 트레이드 스마다 가르세 내배샤도 조차샤 삼니 야 대제들 세나라고 들이 형소나 되냐 말은 저 아니
Zimba members.
저바들이 예소나 되냐 팬마 소바 네 삼성의 팬마 소바 토라더니야 나랑 좀 아니 레트리 사도고요 그랬어
So really, clinging, attachment, and avarice are really the oppositional factors to generosity, and to the attitude of giving. So first you need to relinquish these. So having relinquished one's clinging to whatever it is, and even once the clinging has been relinquished, it's possible that you still may have the thought of, well, I don't have any clinging to this anymore, but I don't need to actually give it then anymore. I don't have the clinging. Or you actually give something away and then regret arises. You wish you hadn't given that away. This is the aspect of avarice that can creep in. Regret, or the thought of I no longer have clinging to it, so maybe I don't need to give it. Anyway, giving, practicing generosity in this way then is really not of any benefit at all. If there's any semblance of clinging or avarice left, or regret that arises after you're giving, then it will not be beneficial. It will not be meritorious. Instead, you may amass the negative karma of giving rise to avarice and clinging.
이제 성당 당하나 저 동화대 충청이야 충청이 되네 맞아야 체도 땅에 가래 되네야 공기 샘대야 체도 땅에 근데 이제 가래 되네 맞아 공 샘대 공데 이제 지금 알아서 애네 첨부 땅 거네야 애네 지금 알아서 애네 작업해 봤더니 요거에서 그래서 다 라비가서 그거 공 샘대라 야 김바도 소야 충청이야 다 무슨 거래 그러는데 전종네 얘네 말아서 아니 드레지송 얘네 방법에다 말아서 방을 나빠 여바데 얘기를 써먹다 예바데 랑게체 얘네 예바데 여바데 진체 얘네 말아서 배드지서야 도스제제는 가서 아니 자라데 충청들한테는 배드지서 처음으로 어떻게 가서 충청들이 진 아니 샘라마 집 저바들이 제거도 없는데 때 근데 지금 알아서 체들에서는 근데 따때에서 알아서 답변은 샘제도서라고 이제 가라고 이제네 충청라고 되는 가서 바를 때 근데 가래가래 도수지는 근데 가서 야 건도 주서 근데 야때에서 알아서 체도 땅 도수지는 알아서 뭐 대학에서 공부해서 했어
It's for this reason that we're advised to begin our practice, our engaging in and cultivating generosity little by little, very gradually. Where initially we give very small items, give little things without any sense of attachment, avarice, clinging to them whatsoever, and then slowly, gradually go better. And in particular, slowly, initially beginning with the focus on our attitude of giving, on our mindset, the motivation, to focus on the mindset and gradually cultivate that and progress with that. Once we become truly cultivated and meditated on and become habituated to the attitude of giving, then at that point, then you're fully capable of giving away anything, making massive gifts of generosity without any semblance of regret coming up in your mind whatsoever. But we need to train, and we're advised when we're training in generosity to train in this way, to begin very small and then gradually progress, just like as it's taught in the Bodhicharyavatara, the way of the Bodhisattva, or in the section on generosity, how to train in generosity, to initially begin focusing on your mindset, your motivation, and taking a small item from your right hand and passing it to your left hand. And thinking in your own mind, okay, the right hand, that's me, and the left hand, that's somebody else. So I'm going to give this thing in my right hand. I'm really going to give it over to this other person that's my left hand. And really checking on your mind and what comes up then in that moment. Is there any sense of regret or clinging still there? And then you slowly graduate to actually giving things. Maybe you're giving little morsels of food or a little something to animals. And really checking with your mind and your motivation how you respond, and then slowly cultivating yourself in this way, really making it a practice in this way, to habituate your mind to having the attitude of giving. If you practice in this way, then slowly, gradually, your mind becomes more and more habituated, fixated on it, stabilized in its ability to give, in the attitude of giving. And really by practicing in that way, then that's what we call, and you arrive at the space where you're truly accustomed to or habituated to being generous.
Tene chedang ge ngaram che ene ta kansalai chebori ore chedang ge ta kwache bu kiase ene kashi be ji bu chungchong de so kapne ji yanfen samo chembo yana ji ngaram zo de tene ba ene ya jimba toya de so la gabo Bena kashi buku chungchong tene sarang lakwa nang yase tene koso berjese koso milpa te yang re tere doa kashi chungchong ena jik sani te masa ke tene jik tene jik tene re jia doas.
Generally, however, for us, for individuals, there seems to be kind of often a natural difference between individuals' capacity for generosity. In fact, you can observe this often with children, where some children are inherently or naturally inclined to the Mahayana. For example,
Ani tata yore tata nga tsu kachu xie de ge yoda.
Anis are asking, there's no teaching tonight? They've gone on earlier. So Rosha's saying, yeah, there is, we're on.
Ani di churang ge yangjer de jeda tene tata yore tata nga tsu xie de ge yo. Che kena churang ge tene deji ene de mahjong isare.
They got on earlier when we were offline, so it was just saying, get back on, we're going. So some children, So some children are just inherently, naturally givers, naturally inclined towards the Mahayana. Where you see this, some very young children, whatever they have, whatever their treats or whatever it is they have in front of them, they'll just naturally, they're inclined to give it all away. And not only that, but they delight in that. They naturally have this inclination towards altruism, towards benefiting others. Likewise, there are other children that seems impossible to get anything out of their hand. They cling to everything. They're completely averse to giving.
Tene tenda wale, tene tayang ngara zogu pena ani ta mi kashi tene tabe chesriya be chik mi chobo dawo da tere si tong yo na tene Quran sem ge zani chik zoya mejo tene Quran chik te mena tene Quran ta ko khare tene te za mena Quran be sendre je chik te re sona Quran be ga je ta te mena ta ngala chik te khaya mena khare je go sam这讲的这个叫多是你脚部的痛，脚部的痛呢，其他这就没了的，但就可能呗，甚至就是他妈的就这就没有什么看的这个的，三不着，他就这就完了，可能就这搞完去了，这个人就有。
And there's some that just by the sight of seeing someone poor, someone in need, they immediately are connected to that. Consider that. Think about that. How can I help them? I don't have anything right now to give them. If only I had something to give, how can I help them? Worry about that. And if they have the opportunity or have some potential or something to give them, then it makes them extremely happy. So there are also individuals that are just naturally like that.
강원들이 양 당가랑 저거 봉할라 양 저거 되는 가랑 저거 빼나 애니 샴팽 샘당 인기게 샘대 영해지야나 되니 지가랑 저거 애니 엄마한테 sol아야 되니 지 가르쳐 거래 랑 인기 빼때 지금 거요랬어 빼 애니 봉샘대 연구요래.
So really with generosity, key things that are needed is having the altruistic intention, having a mindset intent on helping others and having compassion. Where if you have those kinds of qualities in your mind, then for those types of individual, then the attitude of giving will naturally develop from that, will naturally be present.
그래서 되는 순간 내가 저거에 되는 알아는 저거다 인제다 되는 알아는 저거야다 잠비기 샘지고는야 꾸는 동체 되는 랑가랑아야 샘라 되니 예배가 삼먹게 숙자는 되는 알아는 저거를 막이는 동샘대요 되는 다치 알아는 저거야 공국이 샘대요 공의 공도 별로고요.
So primarily, we need to really focus on giving rise to compassion and the mindset of love in our mind. Focus on that, engender those qualities in our mind. And then also strongly give rise to the intention to help others, the altruistic intent within our own mind. And by doing that, focusing on those qualities, then the attitude of giving will naturally become cultivated more and more and develop.
ini tendes jadi tendes rumah kita cik ngasuh karsa ini ya ini jimbak ini tak cik ngasuh ini tongik ini ngobrol tersoyang tak cik orang jalan sama imbat ini tak peka tongsem cembo jalan wana ini orang cik longjo ini andra lui ini andra ini kare ini tak cik ngobrol 카레이는 데르지 세나메바 드레스치 다 좀어려 다 카레이는 데르지 세나다 애니 점바메바 노스 동국의 샘지 통오나 tena tangara zogo zogo tata jimbiki. Chitanga part of the chipasa. Seven of it.
And gradually training like this, cultivating this mindset, then one becomes capable of giving anything, giving whatever possessions they have, whatever possessions, giving their own body, whatever things, whatever it is that can be given will be beneficial. And once one's attitude of generosity is fully matured, cultivated, one is habituated to that, then you're able to give absolutely anything with no sense of clinging or avarice, covetousness for anything. And once you reach that measure, then that truly is what we call the perfection of generosity, or transcendent generosity.
Anita, Karasagore, and magic labro that is song yours. That along with the song, the Nipata, Chibata, that along with Janurins, Buddha Chuma, Omjurins, legitimum Bumurins,
Tanam Gyat.
That along with Janjur,
Yeah, that's
Jania.
Gyat.
That the so bad kissing as Chapat, that because of any that Javan chair, what that means, so that is I not that got it, man, anything around so Bodam Chuma, so that Teleji. Teleja, the Chapan, the much you get around with lady or what? Better me check it out. Zumbling, no put how much around a training, Channel little at a check or senna. So little minute the Bujanga Yoma. This song, Carson, that didn't only hear about the chief who the child was. There is on that legitimate Jurians.
Machik Lavrin said, the giving of one's horses and cattle is 100 times, just 100 times, like 100 times powerful. Something. The giving of one's children and wife or husband is 1,000 times more powerful. And the giving of one's own body is 100,000 times more powerful than all of those. So first, the giving of one's, generally most cherished possessions, most useful possessions. In the old days, one's horse and cattle. Today, probably one's car or something like that. So that's pretty good. That's hard to give away. And then much more difficult than that, really, with regards to the clinging and attachment to things as one's own children or spouse. And then the most difficult thing to give away, really what we cherish the most, have the strongest clinging to, is our own body. For example, if someone were to say to you, I'll give you all the wealth of the world, everything there is in the world, I'll give it to you. You just have to give me your body. Who would do that? For one, then you'd have no means to enjoy or take care of all those possessions too. Point being that really our strongest clinging and attachment, cherishing, is to our own body. So Machik Labdin is saying, giving of one's own body is 100,000 times the powerful generosity.
Yeah, there is all that Changchu Smart get up to so on up in the Sanji get up to so on. And then Luda, and it touching water, Luda. And it Jalatam get don't get in Lojuban way or was. In a Tata Maranso, then some must become that did our jet to Marek. Then our Chena, then Jima, and Java chair. This one. Maranso. Touching around to the same Jiponia. When a time around to only same Jeche. When around to that Jordan. Then it is autumn jig up and Jimbalas of Tomia and Victoria. That's all because any diseases.
when you read the annals of the life stories of the Bodhisattvas and the Jataka tales, the previous lifetimes of the Buddha, there are many instances, many stories, histories of their offering of their own body, their offering their own head in acts of generosity, offering every single thing they have or are connected to or are capable of offering. So there are many such stories. That being said, for us ordinary individuals not abiding on the bhumis, and for us it's not yet suitable to offer our bodies like that, to offer our heads. If we do, then, if you were to do that, then as an ordinary being, then there's the great likelihood of giving rise to regret subsequent to that, destroying the merit of it. That being said, however, right now as ordinary individuals we do have particular methods and practices we can engage in, where through the power of our mind we make offerings of our body. The generosity of offering our body and the practice of severance practice and so forth. But really that's exactly what these practices are focusing on. The cultivation of generosity through cultivating the attitude of giving, the mental giving. So also why for us we have recitations, practices of mentally giving, thinking, I offer my body, I offer my possessions, I offer all my virtues, all virtues of the 3 times without any regret or clinging. I offer these, give all of this to all sentient beings. Together with aspiration prayers, may I actually be able to do this. I am actually doing this right now as well. And also in the practice of dedication, I dedicate all virtue, everything I have for the sake of sentient beings. And really, when we're engaging in this, making these recitations, taking this as our practice, thinking this way, and sometimes for some individuals, we really have a real feeling of it, experience of it, where in our mind, or in some people's minds, the real definitive decision, definitive certainty of this, I can do this, I am actually giving, can arise.
다 대탐제라 개체와 찍대야 되네. 네. 지바지 파땅이야와이나. 나라 써는 게 철내거래. 찍기는 나 축고시 참여와. 찍기는 뭐봐야. 지와 지마 나 축고시 참여와. 야는 내 파지 얘는 고정 나는 유마 때리 치마 찍서. 제 뭐나 삼나? 근데요. 다다텔라. 그래서 참여와. And land 남는 레와서. 가다 파트 나는 수직 이 빠트는 뭐지 그냥 드레송이로 와서. 가라사. 아니 옹두세. 다 파르테스 옹처럼 득데베서 가라사. 옹와도 두바. 치들 가라사 장선 옹두 섭니녀서. 옹와다 치들다 장선기 여비소로 되는 파지 되는 수질랜 되는 제는 양고 뺏겨서 되니까 내가라고 뭐 바가 나라 때는 진짜 지게와 치마를 팽그래 뭐 버지 팽에서 They nothing that ever do. What you know, so do I. Any, caressa. The junk, the land, nothing mereva, so do I. And the capture land, nothing mereva. The death out within the land, nothing mereva. Then I don't know what the young. Just another year, so there is.
So our practice of generosity can be our actual material giving, our giving of real, tangible things, or through the practice of mental acts of generosity, practice of chut, the offering of the physical body and chut and so forth. And likewise our dedication and aspiration prayers, dedicating our roots of virtue to others, to all sentient beings, making aspiration prayers on behalf of others and all others and sentient beings. These are also forms of giving and generosity that we can cultivate, train in as a practice of generosity. So one very crucial point of how to properly practice generosity relates to being free of having hopes of getting anything in return for our act of generosity. For example, having the ideation or that I'm making this act of generosity, and this generosity is meritorious, and based on that merit, then that's going to come back to me at some point. I'm going to get rich off this, act of generosity. My next life, maybe I'll be quite wealthy because I've been so generous in this life. Sort of thinking, having any thought like that, contaminates the practice. Or thinking, I'm going to give to them now, and then they're going to, maybe I'll get more in return at some later point. Any ideation like that is really what's being referred to here in our line, therefore with no hope of reward or benefit. Reward referring to reward in this lifetime, and benefit, the benefit of making acts of generosity for the next life. Literally ripening our acts of generosity based solely on, or based with the intention to get something in the next life. So Tulku Rinpoche spoke to this, saying the generosity of those who feign bodhicitta, the generosity of sending and accumulating, where one is acting as if they're good, meritorious, bodhicitta-based acts of generosity, but it's always contaminated with what they're going to get in return. So individuals that give with like the expectation of gathering in return, tongru. Point being that we shouldn't have any type of hope for them. Therefore, with no hope of reward or benefit, either for this life or a next life, to give with generosity is the practice of a bodhisattva.
너무 따뜻한 거라서 가면 막 죽고죠. 이상한 침보지. 나가서 얘는 현재 취지로 육성님도 와도 고생 미상 들어와. 미상 들어 죽고 싶죠 않은지. 얘네 다 잡아들이 다 고쳐서 샵되는 로이서로 와. 가지고 거 잡아들이.
자기
잡아.
공부님이
가지고 거.
가지.
근데 잡아 충전돼서 되니 걔한테 잡아서 와. 아니, 거기서 죽고 어떻게 치고 어떻게 가게서 잡아 있는 새도 쟤네들 잡아줘. 거기서 서싸버렸어. 쟤네들 잡아버렸어. 왜 가지고 안 되니까 거기 죽고 그거서 와. 그러니까 거기
인중대.
거 초싹새도 가서 다 쓰는데 쌓여놓고 꼭 고글해서 말이야. 초스는 알아서 초들 쓰는 매달 고스라 그 지쳐고 고스라 산이 고 강관으로 파를 고랑에 싸마로 강가 쓰더니 박초만 뭐 매체뭐지 잡니 근데 꼭 박초서 봐 이거도 매는 가르쳐야지 축구 차기 나가서 축구 차봐야 초 싸버렸어도 나 처음에가 안 가요
Some time ago in Kham, there's a quite wealthy family, Bodhisattvas family, Bodhisattvas clan. We're quite a high society, wealthy family. It's a Chogi Lodros. Sangyun came from this family. Quite well off and revered. So on one occasion, monks from Dorje Gompa monastery were invited there to perform rituals, shakten, ritual ceremonies, clear obstacles or benefit the household. So the younger monks were there, and they were quite impressed with the abundance and wealth of this family. So one of the younger monks asked the older monks, or like the head lama there, "Wow, how'd they get so wealthy? How do you get wealthy like this?" And the Lama said, "Tulku Sang-ngag," which at once means you amass the accumulations, you amass merit. But it also sounds quite like it could also mean you burn your Gana Chakra feast offerings. It's like a homonym, you know. So this young monk, he didn't know what's going on. He just heard Tulku Sang, and he goes out and does these rituals, and he knows Tulku means like Gana Chakra, the feast offerings, and Sak means like burn stuff. So he's like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. So he didn't know it related to merit or anything. So the next day, he's got his idea, so he gets a big bag of tsampa together and makes his tsampa dough balls, prime Soka offerings, prime Gana Chakra offerings, makes a bunch of them and makes a big fire and he's burning tons of them. Until his buddy comes along and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I asked the Lama how that family got so rich." And they Tulku Sang, they burn all their Gana Chakra offerings. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to get real rich.
Tene ngaranze yang tatela ngubugi mayo tene menjepi bas menjepi masena ta pena chesere yang gechik ene pena so jobala so bataba ene trying jipa jobala so bataba ene pena ta ngana so neba ta wujeleina ene chek ene pena ta neba menji bataba ene tena ye ta chenga so try change bachana tene chikane drag chingara so nobody tabar jebala so bataw menjipe jibas
So to this point we've been discussing the first category of generosity. Generosity of giving material things, giving things. So our second form of generosity, the generosity of offering refuge or offering protection from fear. So this includes protecting beings from being killed, or freeing beings from their enemies, protecting beings from enemies, those that would harm them. Also for beings that are sick, individuals that are sick, ill, offering them medicine. This also fits in this category. So freeing or saving individuals from being harmed and so forth. These are all fit within this category of the generosity of offering protection from fear.
작은 밥펑이잖아. 그 내가 별로 쏘터리고. 이내 그 시험에 살았던 가서 제일 많이.
So for example, just an insect walking onto the road, picking up the bug, tossing it into the grass somewhere safe where a car is not going to run over it. That is included within here, where at least temporarily speaking, you're extending its life, you're saving its life. You can't take away its potential for dying altogether, but you save it for some time.
양은 저거는 되죠. 원래야 니거든 잡았는데 배차 당했는데 아니야 매상제가 아마다 부모지 여바지 강바지나 트레인 공부하더니 강바더니 고소를 때로지 세레스 강바야로지스
타마디 대체로
아주 벌었다 아주 강바한테 야로지는 거 빼셔대고 말해. 아 강바 야로지는 다다야 대가래 가서 니 고들로면 미 총바들로 강바 야로지는 거 아주 강바 때그래 이네요. 아주 빼셔내요. 루스들이 지금 야마 다다야 민도. 근데 거기서 강바 야로 이네요. 트라바한테서 카자리 대지요 말해. 그냥 당연해서. 카자리 대지요 말해. 나서 드니 야르면서. 아마 부분 말입니다. 아들이 와서 깨졌던데 카드를 강경을 좀 싸는 희eg음이 끝이 다 들어가서 이 물어서더니 강바지 열어졌어. 아니 건이 깨져 맛이 알았지. 아마 부모님들이 강바 열어와.
타마치
강바는 아니. 맞. 근데 가르쳐다 그것도 이제들이 그것도야 매표가 생기 매야 별와 생기가. 생기 매야 야들더니 생기 때문에 양 부지 들어와. Tibetan Buddhist, Buddha don't make it all right. Then I'm Tim Buddha said, Tim Malay, Buddha Shimarosa in a part, Yoshula,
Bumade,
Amagi, Lola. Then I'm at the Buddha Buddhist, Trapata Lando, Oi, Amalas, Shimarosa, Yoksayana, I tell you, Roches.
Not really.
그래서 그 시험으로서 아마가 라면 뭐도 시험으로서 기는 그 남성 맹세로로 그 그래서 그 시험으로서 기서 랑산도 매인 받지 짜도는 파 욕을 깨졌어 뭐도 시험으로서 기는 욕을 미시서 기는 욕을 근데 잡아서 시험으로서 미시고 시험으로서 기는 육사오나 나야 되는 유로 지서 그래서 도스 요를 다다라 골마 죽스 골고리스.
So, some time ago in Tibet, there were a couple monks, quite learned, they're studying the sacred scriptures, these couple monks, or two of them. And in Tibet, there's if you're traveling about, then there's no real tradition, even up to today, of having like hotels or guest houses where you have to pay to stay there. Really, just go like ask for to stay the night or something. You just hey, can I, give me a room, and it's just forever in Tibet that's just the custom to accommodate people that ask for accommodation. So these two monks asked. Showed up at the doorstep of one home, and they asked if they could stay. It was just a mother and a daughter there. And at first, the mother and daughter said, "No, we don't let erudite monks stay here. You talk too much. You're too talkative or something." Yeah, Melvin? Yeah. Monks they're kind of troublesome. They talk too much. They make problems. So no, you can't stay here. And they say. They're like, oh no, we'll be fine, we're nice monks, let us stay here. So they finally agree, and mother and daughter let them stay there for the night. There's they have a fire, they're sitting by the fire, and there's a log in the fire, and there's a bug, little insect on the edge of the log, and it's like blindly walking into the fire. It's going to kill itself. So the mother yells out to the daughter, hey, take the log out, and literally says, like, take that bug somewhere it won't ever die, or just won't die. Like, put it in the grass, you know, take it outside somewhere. So then the smart monk says, if you're taking the bug to, like, the land of immortality where there's no death, then take me there too. So then the mother says, oh, I knew you monks, and you smart monks, and kicks him out. Ha!
Mijek ba jeb se ko ni kap che le ji ko so kar se tes ko ene mijek ba so bi jeb jira there ba ya ene mijek ba jeta dan do sa yo ma ba ya
Point being, offering the generosity of offering protection from fear, it really tends to relate to offering protection from temporary states of fear, or saving beings' lives on a temporary level. You can't really give immortality, eternally save the life of our beings.
Da ngaran zo pen po de zo ko de ne ko mi ji jo pen ngaran zo ni ko no nge yina chu ba yina jo ba da ji ga ni ko mi na khang ba ya ro ji lam na khang ba tre ma se khala tre gre de khala tre ro ji la ko ma re khang ba ya lam na de ne ko ran zo train khala kare sa ko na khang ba de ne la sha ko la ko ma re pe sha ka se de la we go ma re khang ba ya se de ka so po kya so ngo jo ne ko wa so ko ji 강과될 때 드라인 거서 가이나 칼라들 가서 트레고를 탐사. 그래서 동업이나 동어야 트레고를 다 고모제를 가서 돼야. 동어제라 동가 칼라들 트. 뭐다 뜻은 많은지 배는 거서다 엄마게 위치 나라서 그 짐바세네라 카레세네다 거서 생기지 거서 엄마니 박혀줘 봐. 그래서 되네. 단잠벌에 얘기할 때 됩니다. 이제 그냥 강과에서는 배셔야 돼. 아롱 강과야비도 다롱 칼라 강과 제 제금이다. 나도 때는 네 공을 넣어야는 알아서 치. 강과 여러 지 라브를 나이는 열나. 에이나 거죠. 야마 꼭 강과 열 칼라 제 그래. 그러니까 되게 꼭 비싼 거죠, 그러다.
Really, that's the culture in Tibet. That's the custom. It's a deeply ingrained custom, habit, to in particularly offer accommodation to pilgrims, individuals, anyone going on pilgrimage. The moment you request accommodation, may I stay here the night, then you're given, and there's never any question of having to pay. Not only not having to pay for the room for the night, but also you're pretty sure to get fed pretty well. Whatever they're making for the day, for the night, they'll give you. Rinpoche says you don't even have to ask for the food. All you do is ask for a place to stay, and immediately you get the place, and then the food always comes with it. Really, it's quite this strong custom. It's deeply ingrained. We can call this generosity. Habit of generosity, but it's really a real habitual imprint in the psyche of the culture of Tibetans. So when we think about it, it's probably quite unique in the world. Where else in the world could you go and stay wherever you need to for free? Probably nowhere. And even if you could, they're not going to feed you too for free. So really, it's quite a lovely feature, a lovely habit or custom of Tibet.
아니 나랑게 미상데 다 거서 데려와 라마 미상으로 그래 양 멤버도 나랑 아바도 pinja kuskona 멤버래 되는 나랑서 벌었다 빼나 멤버도 손이나 멤버도 손게 내가 공체적 그러와 배샤 가세레 맨저 그걸로 공 가세레 내가 따야라 공 가세레 배샤 내가 민도에 근데 녹수요 말이야. 뭐나 다 등산 자나 술래 도와. 내가 하려면 다 배샤 내나 되네. 고조 내바 자다이나 타고 빼샤 거기서 내면 그러면은 알아서
Janak la yang de. Deng.
등상 자나를 녹수 있고 그러면은 알아서 내발 레원은 따야지 면 돼야마도 빼샤 깨져 요 말에 참도 다 그런 속이지 내발 때스 마테라 팽 말에 삼진 때스 제그마도 내발 다동 고조 내 내가 솔직히 시행을 빼는다 매바트 속에 와서 호중기를 들으시 시행을 매기 나나 상기 매락
Sangye menlagi.
담색을 시행을 빼나 말한 쪽 맨다고 지나 매 찍을 바로도 침바 쪽 성을 열라 빼나 말한 쪽은 내 좋아이나 얘네 줄었다요 말에 니들 빼샤때야 여다 매 때렸다요 말에 맨 내바때나 가래게 거죠 얘네 맨데 쬐고도 공 전부 가세 가래가래 내바때는 가래 고고요 떼쬐고요 그래봐 맨데 떼쬐야마도 떼요 말에 다동야 나서 concept인데 내가 내가 이거서 다른 내 파트 다동 타는 거는 카라테 들으치네 다동 카라테 아마데게 다니 카라테 맞었대 아마데 다고서 매한테 맞어 얘는 매한테서 가가 소수 투거야 요는 말에 소수들이 틀자 내가 틀 동서
Zogi.
소수서야 돼 그래서 매는 빼샤트에 생겨도 매기 공세 집한테 요 말에 이내용 대소던 게 나서서 멤버들서 가려고 해서 빼나 내바지라 패도나 아주 쏘겠지 말해 그래봐 되니 대소던 게 빼나 다 나라는 소고 빼네 다 패도 전부 쉬면 그랬어 되는 내바는 미라 용어로 봐 내바 파시 요라 차고 같이 용봐 같이 용거로 봐다 대소던 게나 저바지 거래 그래봐 내서 멤버게 담세려도 와 양 같이 zor고 치만 멤버 다 가르이네요. 대소로 쪼다게요 말에. 대 저비 당세배. 나도 배는 맨다고 지내나? 그좀 맨 제게 넣나? 근데 때로 바로도 집어 좀 찍어요. 배는 멤버도 담게나. 그러고 나라도 맨 말에 맨 잡느냐나? 근데 장ချုပ်비전juk 그냥 해보고 장ချုပ်비전.
Mende lobjung majin.
장ချုပ်셈 매나 멤버 말에 셰바를 해라고. 대때
Shambari.
셰바스는
Like a butcher? Yeah.
대때 가르에서는 코 그때는 민기에 매나 되는 코 뺏겨서래 얘네 밀하는 쳐다라고 제대로 와. 도스 제제 가들이랑 뜻을 담기에다 지금 아주 얘네 좀 그런 거 토네. 로도 같아서 pena ta tenra chile chaya na pena ta na so menra wo tena men ta so ta ni ko so ge jima da wa ta ko ni ki tenra wo mena round me hasam yo
So kitchen.
so ge jima ya mi je pa ge jima
Na.
pena ta me ba tra wo chi ge na ta ne ba ta so ko so chi shi
Last
shi ro ya ne ba tra wo chi la ko ya so thom na ko so thoba ro
Na. Everybody.
mi je pi jima
Also in my family, Rinpoche's family, it was a Dharma family, ancestry of lamas and also of medicine, medical practitioners, doctors, Tibetan doctors. Rinpoche's father and brothers were doctors. And traditionally in Tibetan medicine, for Tibetan doctors, there's never any system of making any profit or selling your treatments or selling your medicines. There's no like preparing your concoctions or your medicinal pills and then setting them aside and setting the prices on each of them and selling them like that. These days, from China, that tradition is kind of infiltrated or entered into Tibet, where now these days there is that where it's like they prescribe prices fixed prices on what you get. But traditionally, there was never any talk of or any consideration of getting profit or money out of it. In particular, in the Tibetan medical texts, the scriptures that you study and train in to become a doctor, there are vows really forbidding this. Vows of the medicine Buddha, taking the medicine Buddha as one's practice. In particular, that relate to understanding and training in the practice of medicine as a practice of all the 6 paramitas. That really, in being a doctor, it requires that you're engaging in all 6 paramitas. They're part and parcel to the practice of medicine. So with that kind of perspective, then, in treating patients, there's never any thought of, can they afford this treatment? What should I offer them based on their means? He's dressed pretty nice, he can afford this, There's no thought of that. It's solely focused on what exactly is needed to treat this individual's symptoms, their illness, solely based on that. And then whatever it is they need, whatever they require, then that's what I'm giving. That's the whole perspective. There's no profit. There's no money involved in it whatsoever. And then also in villages, more remote regions, not only is the medicine and the treatment just given freely, but when patients show up from far away, then you got to feed them too. So in Rinpoche's family, patients would come from far away, and Mom would prepare the meals, and Dad would always be preparing his medicines, and then the medicines were just given out. And it's not just that the medicines, you go off and buy them somewhere from the Tibetan pill wholesaler, but also a major part of the work of being a Tibetan doctor is the preparation of medicine, the gathering of the ingredients, the crushing of them, the preparing them, the melding them together, and so forth. And traditionally, none of that had any price on it. There was never any consideration of getting money for this. That just wasn't part of the practice. Really, the perspective was, and Rinpoche's father was, as a doctor, it's the benefit comes through the amassing accumulations. It's virtuous action that we're doing. That's the sole focus, to be practicing virtue. And also, patients that show up, you get all sorts of patients. Some that are extremely troublesome, bring all sorts of problems, difficulties. Others that have lost their mind, they're insane. And these are the, you take as the practice of patience. They become your objects that you're able to train and cultivate patience. Some are extremely dirty, smelly. All of this, as you're training in patience. The only point being that within medicine, all the 6 paramitas can be perfectly practiced, are contained within it. And there's the saying in Tibetan medicine that, first, and also when studying Tibetan medicine, before you read anything about medicine, the practices, and medicine itself, you study extensively the way of the Bodhisattva and train in bodhicitta, and engendering and cultivating the precious mind of enlightenment. Where it's said the doctor without bodhicitta is just a butcher. Really, that's kind of true. A medical practitioner without any compassion is really just harming individuals, hurting them. But there's no compassion with them. Again, the point being that it all comes down to one's motivation and the way that you engage in whatever it is you engage in. Medicine, maybe in particular. Medicine, really in large part, as a perfect means for practicing generosity, giving of time, of medicine. And really, primarily, we can think of it as an act of generosity, or a practice of generosity, of giving protection from fear, or the generosity of giving life, where really it is that. If an individual is on the verge of death, and a medical practitioner has the means and applies the treatment that saves that individual's life, they're given them life. So really, main practice is it's the accomplishing and the fulfilling of the second category of generosity, the generosity of protection from fear.
Renata, Yena, him begin to samba to call him, paying samba to call it, so come over. Any never tell her, Karis Genia would carry go send Namin Metawati, something. Tap Kanga Kanga, Tapsi, Kariki, and they shivers. Tata young around to Benedetta any Tata, any Campbell that I paid the control to what. Because now what may count as well. Some Jimba that was a man cassette, Tonaya, who carries a data in River maybe. No man, Ramayo Mari Kanga. And because of remember the song, Korans of Kanga, young, see, Karsa, young Latini, see Junior, so found that Chimbo. Then the Korans of that you talk the Dangas in so concept, so what sort of something, so down. And because of Hanam Laman already. Then I was again, this genetachi, no make it to sort of what's the name. This general so you put it those. Then this is dependent upon the Chimba singing the song. Kawala and Yertoba Remado, Chiku, or Remado. Masonica, Kari young Yertubere. Yapu Ranga Jetoga, make a Kawali in a Jertubres.
So also, if a medical practitioner has an altruistic mindset, then that's the practice of discipline. Maintaining the altruistic mindset is the aspect of discipline, paramita of discipline. Then a patient shows up and with an unwavering mind, focusing on the patient, understanding the patient, looking at the patient's symptoms, what's wrong with them, diagnosing them, the process of diagnosis, really is a practice of meditative concentration, the samten aspect. And then having the understanding, the knowledge, and the wisdom of knowing the various different treatments, skillful means, and methods to be applied, and understanding those and knowing when and how to apply those is the aspect of wisdom. So these days, still in Bhutan, hospitals are free, or whatever treatments, whatever medical treatments you receive, medicines you receive, they're free. The practitioners, the doctors are really highly revered, have their own committees where they're funded through generosity, and they're really considered as like lamas. So before we had this tradition, this was how medicine was practiced, totally free of it was a totally not profit-based system, founded in the fundamental teachings and as a training in the 6 Paramitas, which was very good. It's a wonderful system, wonderful tradition for it to be that way. Also, point being that the Paramitas, when we talk about the 6 Paramitas and the trainings in the Paramitas, you need to understand that they don't just apply to one single vocation or one single work or profession. Really, when we think about it, 6 Paramitas, we can apply all of them in every action, every work, every profession that we may be doing.
We're just talking about the indigenous medical hospital in Bhutan.
Oh, it's just one? It's not all of them?
Actually free, but which is specifically talking the indigenous medical hospital in Bhutan. So the doctors, nurse, every health worker, they have empowerment of this Yupo Nyingdik. And every 10th day, Medicine Buddha Day, you know, they're doing this practice. And then every medicine pills are accomplished during these practices. So that's what Rinpoche is saying. So that's why they are like Lama. Doctors, nurses, sisters, everything they are like practicing, and they are doing all this medical work.
Right, then it got chugi jimbas. Ka chugi jimbas, then it hung around so any. Ta chig around so Kachamurva. Masita, nyamwak tenichi ne kholi tungar de sotam piya ane chongling jimbak chu yinza yangara zu pe chu la so ba su ta ji chu na ya ina ya re te na ye ta ji ngara zu chu tu so te ya ina ya re te na yin ta ye da min so 대 얘가 미네 빼는 거죠. 대입돼서 고소 표현해야죠. 주기 지마세 그랬어.
And next we have generosity of giving the Dharma, which is crucial, very important. The generosity of giving that which frees individuals from the suffering of samsara, frees individuals from being plagued by the afflictive emotions. That's the generosity of giving of the Dharma, which can be teaching the Dharma, propounding the Dharma, can be offering, studying the Dharma, can be just simply giving a text, giving a book to someone.
Advising. Also, advising, counseling
the Dharma. So all of that can be, or is considered the giving of the Dharma, the generosity of the Dharma.
다 되는 아주 가르쳐나 아니 수정 이바들 수정서 아무튼 수정 생각되나 다야 아니 수정 예배랑 감도나 연도 도른도 바 개면이 개별 스빈 dim밤에 봐 수정송아 야셀라네 yes.
So then arriving at discipline, our next verse, verse 26. If lack of discipline prevents you from benefiting yourself, then your wish to benefit others is just a joke. Therefore, to guard discipline with no longing for worldly existence is the practice of a bodhisattva.
수정생인데 또 펜바 두야게 수정지 아니 너가 뻥이야 이 되니 지한테 강아지야 쏘는 수정생 이 쏘는 되게 그랬어.
So Tsultrim primarily comes down to three divisions of discipline, Tsultrim discipline. So we have the discipline of accomplishing benefit. Kan berubah sana kami. Tes sumba. Tahu deh kami kewa.
Ane, ini kewa berubah ya. Kewa berubah.
So the first is accomplishing virtue, or engaging in the discipline of accomplishing virtue. The second is abandoning any harm to others, and the third is accomplishing the benefit of others. Chopate.
아이가 나는 말이요. 이제는 되는지 세워내면 되는지 보다 제일 좀 뭐
It's really the essence of discipline, generally speaking, regarding one's own conduct, one's own self, acting conscientiously, acting with a sense of prudence and conscientiousness, and towards others, having no sense of malice or harm towards others. So really the essence comes down to these 2 points. Acting conscientiously with prudence regarding one's own conduct and without malice or harm towards others.
그래서 이니다 같이 이제 지와야는 잡았다. 송송.
Samsung.
이제 다 수림 거를 숨숨서 있어야 좀 수림 거 숨지 거는
당고대 나변은 아니 그냥 다봐 너봐 봐봐 아니 다 현다라 되네 간사고 아니 좀 예매로 봐.
근데 펜 탁바당 심펜 끝났고.
다 되는데 아니 되는 당가랑 저거 가르쳐. 너봐 라디오로 되는데 너봐 손 너봐 미지 봐 되는데 너봐 손 미지 봐다. 와 너봐 미지 봐다 그 해한다고 너봐 미지 봐. 나 소설 어때?
나 소설. 제네션도.
되네? 다 현장죠. 이거보다 다 나오는 거. 해 다이로 미지 못하는 거.
나. 람들. 초월한. Reasons asking. Just clarify these divisions of discipline. So literally they are, Tibetan, the first is accomplishing benefit, second is relinquishing harm, and the third is accomplishing welfare of others. So then I asked, so what's really the first and the third difference? So the first two are really about accomplishing one's own welfare, focused more on one's own welfare, namely the accomplishing of virtue and the abandoning of non-virtue. Like abandoning non-virtue, not killing, not stealing, and those and so forth. So the first two relate to oneself, to doing good things for oneself and abandoning negativity. And then the third is actions and focused on accomplishing the welfare of others. More questions? Time for questions. Question?
I'm just wondering how many years it would take to be a Tibetan doctor, training in the past.
Probably amji chaya low category.
야, 나랑 저거 거의 중국에다 면책 강습에 줘봐. 대소는 너 체로 여행사래. 다 벌써 너가 좀막 감정도 소나 된다고 체요 말해. 코 가네드네 야고 시나. 양 나서 빠스 때요 말해. 멤버들이 코 가르쳤다. 당고 멤버 이야나. 콜라드니 저거 중계드네 라렌체. 얘네다 몸에 럭스 몸한테들이 고소 대체했다. 상마한테는 다 약을 해서나 되니 와서 빠졌다고 했더니 매일 룩사 콩만 와 대다 조라 전부 조라 대다 되니 다다 지혜들이 말했다. 차도 다음에다 다음에 콩한테는 매줘야 투마요로 그래서 차상의 매바데 제고로 대양 선수 아 예토님들 그런 거 왕을 뒤바전들은 그 답설기를 막 제고도 대제는들 매고 탑 잘해서 다 코멘트 줘야기 총피해도 근데 매고 탑 잘해서들이 연들이라고 했는데 망치와 매바들 연을 못 내대도 근데 다 예만 그런 했더니 하나는 놓쳐도 미세라고 지나서 망아서 뭔가 소리가 사마래 이날 지키는 렌즈 같은 소리 요사래 그 그 가리는 한국에서
저는 저 유튜브 되게 원래 쇼트를 단지
그거랑 그런 게 되네 다마디 고도 잘하게 줘 왕대 고도 왕대 그런 남이 그래 야라서 때 왕 생이래 되는 데들 기대서 고도 찾기는 되네 다 tre고도 도스케들이 맞지 나 때문에야다 내가 저라면 미나들 거라서 그 가다 매고 그만이는 거라서 tre고 매번 경연되게 다들 납치해서 고소만 tre고도 뭐 거토셔 그냥 서로 뭐죠
So at the Tibetan government Mensikang medical university,
지금도 요마에 그거는 나서 지금도
there's only one in Lhasa. Don't sell it. Don't sell it.
What is talking about?
So this is all that long ago. Previously, traditionally, in Lhasa there was the Lhasa Menzikan, the Tibetan government Menzikan Medical University. Where there, I imagine they traditionally had some set years of curriculum that you pass and maybe get a certificate or something so that you pass. For us in COM, didn't really have that system. There wasn't any certificate or any particular thing that you got, like a certain piece of paper, and that you graduated at some certain number of years. It was really just that you apprenticed with a doctor and studied the trade, learned everything, all aspects of it, and then eventually, once you were clear and knowledgeable in all areas, then you could act as a doctor. That being said, there was a particular satchel that you carry your medicines in, that only the Tibetan doctors would carry their medicine. So once you received that, along with a special knife or blade for bloodletting, checking blood or something, and other things, that you would receive the real instruments of being the doctor. So once you got those, then that was maybe the closest thing we had to an actual pass or certificate. And then also with the transmission of the Utop-Ningtek, the fundamental scriptures of Tibetan medicine. We're receiving the empowerments, the transmission of the Utop-Ningtek. Then, along with that, there are particular Damsik Samaya commitments that you take up, which are to practice medicine, be a medical practitioner. And also within the empowerment itself, there's a section of the imparting, like in the words itself, is the section of the imparting of these particular implements of being a doctor. That being said, the empowerment is usually received previous to actually getting your things, and actually becoming the doctor, which are usually offered or traditionally would be given by your teacher themselves, your mentor would pass that along to you. So then once all that's been received, then that's kind of the official, your doctor.
And then Koran men get that the Hanam, no Jujon and Charo, no Jujon and Isare. That could go there. Now, the dates Hana, then a court of Lossom, some of the loss of some
Titsarbijila?
You give me the Ben, some of the Bayanaya, some of the Bayanaya, you give me never young at that. That can make that chomara in a gornana, a gonchi zoya, gorma, la Payadosa. Caresana, for men that make them sick lana, and never look down him, never look down, then my own. Mambo, that young could some about you. Me not say Yagra. Me not to the Mate, this or that the Dukan get one member, that member in Batazo, Dukan, me not a Maya Pacho, the Kansan, the young to the Pacho. Not make it that Choma, never Koyama, Tuma, what they are continue, Egon, what they are done, and it what those Jenny. Then meant that Yamake Sana Yachoma, Cadin, in Gemini, Tapsik is one of the two those.
Often you apprentice for 14, 15 years. You're staying with your teacher for that duration before you'll part. So during that time, or even after that time, if for medical practitioners, often they'll stay in an extended retreat. Say they stay in 3-year retreat or something. That even while they're in retreat, they will be treating patients, 4 or 5 patients a day or something like that. Based on their having begun their training and having become medical practitioners and taken up the sacred commitments, the samaya related to that field, then part of their samaya is to never forsake, never abandon the sick So when they're in retreat, too, they have to treat patients. The patients would come at their retreat center in the Rinpoche's home region, one retreat center, where there were special holes made in the door where the doctors, medical practitioners wouldn't actually see the patients. There'd be a hole where they just reach out and check the pulse. Check the pulse, and then, maybe reach back in and reach out and give them the proper medicine. And they never actually see them. That being said, there was like a prescribed limit of like 5 patients a day that each doctor could see. Any more than that could bring obstacles and make the retreat, bring obstacles to the retreat, hindrances to the retreat. They're just treating people all day long. So, but they had this system where for some, no patients would come, but for others, up to 5 were allowed to come. And I would see this practice where the doctors would be in retreat like that, and with their arms reaching out, and checking the pulse, and then dispensing medicines and so forth. Yeah, really for Tibetan medical practitioners, they have this samaya, the sacred commitment, where as long as they live, they will never forsake the sick. There's one particular doctor, Dr. N. Lama, Menpa Lama Kunga, who he had stayed in retreat extensively. So he was a Lama, a skilled practitioner, and then also a doctor. My brother would report to me, and my relatives, that they'd meet in the morning, gather in the morning for the morning tea, sitting around drinking tea, sitting together, and Menpa Lama Kunga would let everybody know who the patients were going to be that were coming that day. He'd tell explicitly who was coming, what their illnesses would be. And they'd just be sitting there drinking their tea, and he'd be saying, yeah, so-and-so is going to show up today, and they're going to be sick with this today. And he tended to be right. People would show up just as he would report. So really this is the tradition of having doctor, spiritual practitioners.
Dharamsala, 파체 가드시로도 코라하 고도와 근데 코 드니드네 코 맨치다 드니코서 찍매요 거야 그렇지 나한테 좀 말했다 뒤 지나버려 맨으로 지나 저는 다뒤 내바들 때서나 근데 다이나 코다 지금 시간이 더 올라고 말해 근데 미참하고 그래 뭐 시기야 돼 코 MC 원기에다 그래 파피는 mente 때서 osita potrei scrivere cosa matos dos chiedete quando tu per te ne va scerenga te devo te cosa tu per nya chinate che general te chiedo
Also, when I was in prison, there's one doctor who was in prison with us, Amchi Wangyal, who later resided in Dharamsala, became physician to Dalai Lama. When he was in prison with us, it seemed that he was able to tell exactly when patients were going to pass away. They were getting close to death, when death was imminent for them. And he had one particular pill that he would give to them, that he'd have in his pocket here. And it became so that we all knew that if you got that pill, you're probably going to die that day. And the pill was a mendrup, it was a blessing pill. It wasn't, some kind of medicine to heal you. It was a blessing pill to help you pass into death.
Well, that's all.
Bottom. This very moment for the people on the nations of this earth, may not be the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard, but rather may pure conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise.